My name is Jean-Paul Binot. I'm Director for Continental Europe for Osbridge, based in Paris.
Okay, so Jean-Paul, you've come over here as part of the EOA France,
Yes.
and this is a major EOA conference for this year in the UK. What are your observations from the morning so far? Because we've had an analyst session and quite an interactive session as well.
Well, clearly, one of the most striking facts is that outsourcing is alive and well, and that there is broadly a lot of confidence in the future of BPO, which is certainly good news for all of us. The other thing that strikes me is that there is definitely a split in the way of seeing things between the UK and continental Europe. The focus on the credit crunch and that sort of thing is much less relevant to us in continental Europe than it is here, where it is a much more mature market as far as BPO is concerned. But overall, I think we see the stabilization of a new industry that is probably a couple of years old now, and many deals have been in place, and now we are seeing the V2 or V2 point something of the deals, and that shows it's a good sign of a maturing industry.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at the media, certainly in the UK, this idea of a potential recession, credit crunch, this is something that's constantly playing out in the business press, and yet when we went to the audience today, it seemed that the vast majority were not concerned, or they're not seeing any impact on their business. Do you think that's is that just a UK phenomenon?
No, I'm not surprised. In fact, if you consider France, for example, and one of the biggest banks in France, Société Générale, it has suffered more from these maverick traders than from the credit crunch anyway. So all in all, it doesn't seem to be... I think that continental banks are less exposed, all things considered, than Anglo-American banks are. And there is also probably a case to be made of perception versus substance in that crisis. It could very well be that there is anxiety and worry about the economic condition, and that might not be conducive to embracing BPO with a lot of joy and happiness. But nonetheless, it doesn't mean that deals cannot be made, and some might even argue that it would encourage some companies to actually jump into the water.
Mm-hmm. Well, something, when you were talking earlier, you presented some, I think it was UN data, population, demographic information. And one thing that I thought was very striking, that as we move into this century, Germany, I think it was going to move towards about 49% of people would be economically active.
Yes.
So the majority of people would either be the elderly, dependent, or children.
Yeah.
So not actually contributing to the wealth of the nation.
That's true.
And during that same kind of time frame, we're seeing this emergence of BRICS economies, and China and India in particular becoming nations, much more powerful. A need for more migration, or a need for more acceptance of global working through systems such as offshoring. If a country such as Germany can remain economically powerful, whose responsibility is it to make people understand these kind of demographic shifts and changes?
Well, probably we can play our part. It's one of the very purposes of the existence of the EOA is that. I mean, thinking about it and then spreading the word and explaining the trends. I think so that also that the whole concept of an aging population and a changing balance of our societies is well understood. It is just that it's not necessarily always put in the right perspective. And if you're mentioning Germany, for example, not only is it a significant worry that the active population is shrinking in proportion of the total, but the total population itself will be decreasing for Germany, which is not necessarily the case for France, for example. So the whole dynamic of, let's say, power mongering in Europe has to be impacted. And facing the two alternatives of either more widespread immigration or reshuffling of work across the world, I think the latter will happen. It's very unlikely that we'll see a migration to the extent we've seen after the Second World War or into the 70s. Nowadays, with easier communications and a more integrated economy, internet and all that good stuff, I think it's obvious that things will be done where it makes more sense to do them, and where we can find the good skills to actually perform.
So you think that we will, over a much longer period of time than I guess most analysts normally observe these trends, we will look at offshoring more as a way of maintaining economic strength, rather than the typical media view is a very negative view of work being transferred somewhere else.
Yeah, but the media are probably living probably half a century behind the reality, and they're still very parochial, probably because the media to a large extent is linked to readership and that sort of thing, and those people buying subscriptions to newspapers are very deep-rooted in their local existence. But when you look at the brighter side of things, or the reality, in fact, not speaking about France, but Germany, for example. Germany has been extremely successful as being sheltered of all this financial turmoil, for example. It has been extremely successful in the last couple of years, actually supplying all these tools, all these machines, all the machinery to the emerging economies of those BRIC countries, and specifically China for the most part. A lot of the machinery that you find in these industrial parks in China come from Germany, for example. It doesn't mean, though, that Germans need also to do their accounting or their HR, as long as they keep inventing new, more productive tools and making them and exporting them, there is enough for them to generate value to sustain a brilliant economy and a great society.
Okay, that's great. Jean-Paul, thank you very much.
Pleasure, really.